Just a group of friends sitting down talking about the world. Fake deep think, leave me low. We
Fake
kind of
deep thinking.
John,
What's up, guys? You're.
Doc.
Yo, what's up? Yo.
Myself, Eugene. Hey, Fake Deep Thinkers, welcome back to Fake Deep Thinking. Sorry I didn't see y'all yesterday. John was, getting a little late from his trip to Savannah. How was that, by the way?
I went to see Erykah Badu. It was pretty dope, man. I saw Ja Rule, and I saw Music Soul Child. It was pretty good.
You didn't go any more, haunted,
Nah,
guys or anything like that? Because Savannah's known for that, aren't they?
Yeah,
They got a bunch of, haunted
crazy that
stuff
you
in
said
Savannah.
that because Savannah actually reminded us of New Orleans. It's literally got the same vibe. So they might be Creole down there. I don't know. But it's definitely
Because I know they have some
New Orleans vibe.
haunted tours, to some crazy
A lot of
places.
plantations. Yep, a lot of plantations.
Savannah in Georgia?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's is
No,
it
nice.
south, kind of towards the coast.
Southwest, southeast.
I think it's
Southeast.
Yeah.
4 hours.
Ian, could you put Doc up so we can see him? Guys, we want to see Doc's face too. Nice. Sounds like fun. Yeah, I didn't even know you were out until you texted me. I don't know if I'm making it time. I was like, oh shit, you're in Savannah.
Yeah, man. I went there. Saw the concert. Concert was nice, dude. It was dope. Savannah's completely under construction. They've gotten money recently, apparently.
Dude, I think a lot of places are under construction. Everywhere you go, there's
Everything
just crazy
was brand
construction.
new, though.
Really?
All the hotels, all the
But they're
kind of
known for the vintage.
Yeah.
If that's the word to
That's
use
why I
for
said
describe Savannah.
Somebody sent money, money's being spent in Savannah right now for some reason.
All right, well, we're here on a Wednesday, awkward time. Let's introduce the crew. Blah, blah, blah. We got John,
You're
Doc,
Yo.
Ian in the back, and myself, Eugene. And again, thank God Ian's here. I'm telling y'all, the struggle is real. All right, so if y'all haven't heard, Johnny Depp won his case, and the internet went ablaze when the news released that he won the case. So... Oh, yeah, freaked me out for a second there. So, Johnny won, I think, on all counts. He proved defamation, proved malice, or at least the jury was convinced of defamation and convinced of malice. I probably should say a better way to phrase it. And I don't know what the other qualifications were, but it basically came down to defamation and malice to get the suit across. Blah, blah. And Amber, I think she also won one of her counterclaims of defamation, but it was, if I remember correctly, through an association, his lawyer said something. Because Johnny was associated with the lawyer, he kind of had some level of, responsibility with that. But she won one count, whereas he won all his. And he was awarded, I think, a total of $15 million. But then because her suit got her $2 million at 13, and then in that state of Virginia, they're capped. Forgot the specifics on it, but there's a certain cap to what he won, which is at, I think, around 10. So he actually only gets 8.
Sounds like he gets all his money back that she didn't donate to the charities, but she pledged. Sorry.
No, it's just funny. Because the people have been arguing on, not arguing, but people have been funny, little memes coming out saying how she should just pledge that money to Johnny Depp and she'd be good.
That's actually pretty funny.
Damn. Yeah, dude. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we pretty much all saw it live.
Yeah, we all saw it coming. I don't know if y'all were keeping up with the case, but we kind of even if you guys weren't keeping up with the case, it was still kind of obvious that.
Yeah. She was gonna lose. And
Yeah,
but her
I thought it was
message
pretty
after,
funny, and it definitely looked that way, like he was going to win. But I was just like, who knows? And I saw, I think the guy's name, his name's Asmongold. I saw him streaming.
Okay, he's been watching Asmongold watch it the whole time.
Yeah, dude, I'm actually surprised how many viewers he's
He got
gotten.
a lot.
He's gotten over 150,000
460,000,
viewers.
Ian?
460,000.
That was his max?
460,000. That's his max?
Dude, this
wow.
guy literally watching a court trial and just shitting on it in commentary got close to 500,000 viewers. Dude, that is so wild to me. And I saw him boot up his stream, the day that they were going to give the verdict. But I was like, dude, I don't really want to, I kind of don't care. It's not going to affect my life too much. So I was just whatever. I just turned it off. But the sheer number of people watching his stream at that time is just too wild to me.
Amber Heard says she's not even mad that she lost the trial. She's more upset about what
Yeah, let's go
it's
to her
doing
tweet.
for the next women.
Yeah, let's pull up her tweet. So yeah, almost literally, Ian and I were watching it live because we were when we were working.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were working, so we were like, while we were working, we had a little live thing. Well, he had his and I had mine in the background playing until they finally got the verdict going on. They announced it was coming at 3, so we were like, oh, okay, anticipation. Let's see what they got to say. Something to keep our minds distracted.
This
while we're
Friday at 3:00 for season finale.
So it was funny because they read out the verdict, and then like, what is it, Ian? Not 5 minutes after, she suddenly lays out this lengthy tweet. Well, it's a screenshot of her statement and tweet, but it reads, "The disappointment I feel today is beyond words. I'm heartbroken that the mountain of evidence still was not enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of my ex-husband. I'm even more disappointed with what this verdict means for other women. It is a setback. It sets back the clock to a time when a woman who spoke up and spoke out could be publicly shamed and humiliated. It sets back the idea that violence against women is to be taken seriously. I believe Johnny's attorney succeeded in getting the jury to overlook the key issue of freedom of speech and ignore evidence that was so conclusive that we won in the UK. I'm sad I lost this case, but I am sadder still that I seem to have lost a right I thought I had as an American to speak freely and openly."
But you lied. Like,
Yeah,
the thing is
gaslighting.
that you lied.
But
And it cost somebody something. Like,
when
that's
I
the
read
real part.
But when I read this, the obvious things are annoyed at the shit she says here. But what I guess bothers me more is not necessarily. This is cookie cutter. Everyone says this. Like, she's not the first person to do something like this. Like, I think, to our argument about the snake eating itself, I think this is a testament to, not necessarily the snake eating itself, but more argument that it's finally starting to eat, like, I guess, nibble, get a taste for it. Because this has become so obvious that we can point out fake. Like, this is not genuine. Like, everything in here, like, I don't know. It's just.
Well, I also think the scales are starting to balance out.
Yeah.
What do you mean by scales? Because my point I'm trying to get is we're becoming more and more aware,
The general consensus is the general
interpret
public
of this kind of stuff.
is more aware of, not all the time, but we're more perceptive of when there's an attempt to manipulate us.
Yeah.
Than there used to be.
Like, definitely, I think the Me Too movement was a backlash of, like, pent up, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, pent up, just incidents in certain industries, and like, they mostly were valid. Like, I have no idea who wasn't and who wasn't lying, but I would assume that most of them were truthful. The thing is that, like, that is kind of running out of gas, and it also, now that it's running out of gas, is also showing that even men are susceptible to the same things. So that's why I mean the scales are balancing out. Like, there's vices on both sides. You know what I mean? Like, both men and women deal with slander and allegations and abuse and just in-home violence and whatever. So yeah, this is like the first public case where a lot of guys are like, damn, like, we actually won that. Like, most people would write it off.
My question for y'all is, let me get a lead up to this question. So, do you think, and some people are saying this, her career is over?
I don't know. That's actually something I was thinking about. Like, is Disney gonna just suddenly drop her, or Warner Brothers, like they did with Johnny?
Well, she did get fired from Aquaman 2, apparently.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
kind of like
think her
vacation.
career is over as far as, like, box office. Like, she's not gonna be any headlining any major
B-list movies now,
She,
whatever
Juicy
they're called.
Smoulier.
I'm glad you said that, because now my lead up to this. Thank you, John. So my second question now: who do you think gets their first movie? Amber Heard or Jussie Smollett?
Yeah, they might be in the same
What
one.
am I saying, Jesse? Fucking Amber Heard probably gets it before he does.
Yeah. She's more, I guess, utility.
I mean, she's having marital problems. She didn't fucking fake a hate crime. To me, on the scale,
She shit on somebody's bed.
shit on
That's
somebody's
still
bed.
less to me than fucking faking a hate
Faking
crime,
hate crime
and
is
accusing
wild.
people of it.
And then still on the way out of the courtroom saying, "Yo, 400, yo."
Yo. So another thing I want to point out too is, I know y'all didn't see it, but my question when I was watching her was, if any point in time where we finally got to see tears from you, wouldn't this be it?
Nah, because she's just paying back his money. She got $7 million from him.
She wants us to believe what she claims, that Johnny Depp physically and sexually assaults her.
Mm-hmm.
And one would assume, maybe I'm wrong for this assumption, that if Johnny Depp really did physically and sexually abuse you, when you lose the case to prove this, wouldn't you kind of like emotionally lose yourself a little bit?
But
Like,
the case
I guess
wasn't
break.
about that.
Fair.
It was a defamation case.
Fair. But the defamation helps reveal the trauma that you allegedly been through.
True.
So wouldn't that hit you, impact
she
you?
just compartmentalized it. And also, like, I'm not going to say he wasn't, I don't know if he was verbally abusive or not. Like,
And we heard the audio. He said some things, and we saw some of his text messages and
he's
stuff.
Sharp
like,
with these,
he's sharp with it.
He
He's
has
sharp with
a
it.
silver tongue, is that what they call it? Silver tongue?
The breath of life leaves your lungs.
So
He said some other things too that weren't exactly eloquent, but it was just.
When I say he cussed her out with a feather pen,
Yes,
no, my boy, but still, she, like you said, she won one of her cases, so I just think she stretched it, got caught stretching it, and tried to play off of the whole Me Too, women empowerment thing. And like I said, all these things exist for a reason. It's just somehow, some way, it almost seems like by design that all of these things that start off like grassroots get convoluted into something else by the end of it. It's almost like sabotage. It's just sad enough to say. It's just like nothing ever gets accomplished because we want the new thing or the new standard or whatever it is that we see approaching to be perfect. And then any misstep with that thing then nullifies the whole movement or voids the whole movement. Like this shorty that stole all the Black Lives Matter shit. Black Lives Matter is almost like a joke now at this point, right? But at its conception, when it was its grassroots, it was probably meaningful. You know what I'm saying? At that moment, at that time, when it was being created,
we tried
it was
to make
probably
the distinction between the organization and the actual movement. People
exactly.
actually try to do that.
But
There's a
like
point to
even
that
with the Me
distinction.
Too, like these women had been abused. That's not a joke. Like these women sincerely been abused, but now you look at the same movement now, and because sour apples like her and stuff like that, the whole movement loses steam. The truth of this, the what the actual problem is.
I agree with you. Honestly, I genuinely think that because Me Too, like she became the face of Me Too, and now it's like, let's be honest, like even if you use the trial as reasoning or not, like I don't think she was sexually or physically abused. I just don't. And now with this case, it ruins that whole, like, it just makes them look like, what, chumps, I guess?
Mm-hmm. And she tried to extort him.
It's sobering because, I mean, we've seen now 2 instances for one person basically using victimhood with a race card, and now another person using victimhood with a gender card against people. And it's just kind of like, shit, like, you can actually abuse the public appeal. And so now I would hope that the general public's a bit more skeptical when it comes to the emotional, like, virtue signaling of like, do this, and it's like, wait, let's actually stop and actually take a look at what's happening.
But yeah, I guess kind of on topic, a little off topic, but to ask a question off that. But do you think that's the general populace or the or do you think that's normal or not normal? The majority or minority when it comes to the minority or minority being the populace who kind of lead with their emotions or are easily influenced with their emotions?
I would hope it's the general populace who actually,
have a little more rationale.
Yeah, and it has rationality. I mean, the other thing too is that we're looking at a lot of this instances through the scope of the internet, and the internet is just a fucking swirl of bullshit. So, in person, I would hope the populace is more rational.
Because that's a different conversation. Because I would leave that something else, but different conversations. Any other points about this you want to talk about?
I do not care about these folks.
Yeah, we talked about this. Our third time talking about this. I just wanted to ask that
No,
question.
no, I'm
To be
glad.
honest
I'm
about the
glad
Justice
Johnny
Lily ones, I
won.
thought it was funny.
I'm glad Johnny won, but like it don't. At first, I
Actually,
thought
before you
thought
finish,
it
I got
was.
something I want to ask. Go for
At
it.
first, I thought it was gonna push, like like Doc said, a little bit of the balance as far as like just rushing to judgment.
What's up, Ethan?
But hey, what's up, Ethan? But nah, ain't shit gonna change. People gonna do what they do. So
Actually, the thing I like the most about this is that it kind of stiffed the corporations that were like immediately dropping people for allegations and stuff like that. And then
we're not getting
hopefully
another
now-
Pirates.
Yeah, hopefully now it makes them be like, wait, let's should actually wait and see what happens with
With the case or something like that.
They missed that on bread too, man. Because I'm already over watching any Pirates of the Caribbean that doesn't have my boy in it doing his walk.
Oh, yeah, the franchise right
I
here.
need-
He is the franchise.
I need him to walk in the movie or
So-
quick run, whatever that thing is.
Whatever that is.
That thing.
Yeah.
No, this is an anecdote, but that first scene where he comes out, where he's fucking riding the sinking boat and he just like steps on the dock.
Yep.
I thought that was the coolest fucking thing as a kid, man. I was like, that's so badass.
Real quick, Ian, could you pull up the tweet again? There's one thing that was said in there that I wanted to address and I forgot to address, and I want to address it before we close out to the next topic, which was her argument about free speech. I believe Johnny's attorneys succeeded in getting the jury to overlook the key issue of freedom of speech and ignore evidence that was so. Because Asma Gold, because Ian was watching me when we were working, was going through some of the comments after she tweeted this and other people's reactions going on, and it was kind of insane the amount of comments and people agreeing with that statement. So I guess, and
No.
Okay, let's boom.
No, because the problem isn't the freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want.
Exactly.
Your speech affected his income
Exactly.
and his public image.
'Cause you lied.
So what she's trying to say is that her defaming him was her right.
No, you don't have a right to defame somebody. And I don't know if that's her argument.
I mean,
Technically
that's
speaking-
literally what her, yeah,
technically
because she's
speaking,
saying
literally,
she should have been protected
you're-
by freedom of speech. And
Which doesn't make
And
sense.
also because it's freedom of speech, it can be it doesn't have to be literal.
But they're not arguing that you can't say what you said.
But she's
You
saying
can
it
definitely
also
say what
doesn't
you
make
said,
it
but
literal.
there's consequences to it. The consequence is you lied and defamed somebody. You can do it if you want to, but there's consequence to it. That's why I don't understand what she's saying.
I agree. I
It's
think
dumb.
she's saying that freedom of speech can be taken however it was. Freedom of speech doesn't only speak to being the ability to say whatever you want. It's to say what you want, how you want it. And so the argument would be that I said it. It doesn't mean it was literal. I didn't mean that I didn't ever state. Her argument was she never said that what she said.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trying to prove it, which I guess they pivoted to, her first argument was that she never said what she said. So like, her argument was that she didn't say it in a way that defamed him. Even when, if you look at the evidence, she was pointing out to, they didn't mention you in the article, and I was I was just talking in general. So her whole point was he had the right to generalize and speak. It shouldn't cost her all this money. I think she's a lying witch whore.
I actually didn't know that was her angle, but I mean, yeah, you can totally sue people for slander and stuff like that. People do in politics all the time.
I guess to harp on your point, trying to understand your point. So your point is because that's what they had to go through this case for, to prove that she meant Johnny.
She slandered him.
That even though she didn't outright say Johnny Depp,
She
but it was
implied it.
heavily implied, insinuated that it was Johnny.
Correct.
And she's trying to navigate that gray area.
Yeah, but it was a dumb thing because when Disney decided not to continue with Johnny Depp, there's literally that should have been the shortest case ever. Because if you're saying you didn't imply it, are you then implying?
Child to me, like I don't. Is
Because
that
you can
arrogant
sue
of me?
Disney too. Because then, honestly speaking, you're saying that it wasn't me, right? But you implied it was me. So does that mean Disney got the wrong implication when they
But I
fired
didn't
me?
say it.
No, so Disney was wrong. So that's true.
She shot on the bed. Of course, she's a child.
But like, you're implying that Disney made the wrong decision. Then you're implying that I should be keeping my job. So that means I get to turn around and sue Disney too, because it was just an implication, right? You didn't say it was me. Where did they come to the conclusion it was me? Where did all the sponsors and all the monies and all the opportunities that I lost, why did they come to the conclusion that it was me that you were discussing? if it was just not implied. To me, the whole thing is stupid at that point. They didn't even need that many days to deliberate.
That's why I think. That's why I said chalk. In my mind, that's something like that's a conversation I have with a kid. Like when they're just being annoying. Like you catch them in something. It's like, well, I didn't.
They're nitpicking.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know.
Trying to weasel their way out of it.
Yes, exactly. Weasel their way out of it. And she thought she could weasel her way out of this by feigning this emotion and then her acting skills throughout. Watching her was so funny, this whole process. I think that's why this blew up as much as it was, because the memes that came out of it. All the 460,000 people watching Asmongold, they're, I think, watching because of the clips that are going to come from this. There have been hella viral clips from this trial alone. That have been,
it was interesting, man. Like, the case to some point was really fucking hilarious because just the way the lawyers were going off, like they were
mega pint.
The 15 minutes of fame TMZ guy, that was funny. Also,
it was really bizarre, some of the questioning, and then even some of the witnesses that came out, like the dude who was fucking vaping the entire time when he was talking.
They're like the psychologist that came out.
Yeah, dude, he was hot, man. Like there was even there's.
I wasn't talking about the hot one. I was talking about the weird one.
Somebody was vaping.
Yeah, there was a guy who was like on stream for he was being a witness, and he was on a stream cam, and he was fucking vaping the entire time when he was giving his testimony.
Wow,
it was really bizarre. Yeah, dude, the final question, you got to watch that video because the final question they were like, "Do you remember some ex fucking situation within the couple?" And he straight up looks at the camera, and he goes, I don't remember what I had breakfast this morning.
Yo!
And it just fucking, dude, I died, dude.
I gotta look this. I don't think I saw this testimony. I gotta watch this. Wow.
You should see it. You
Who's
just
witness?
see Johnny's fucking cracking
Who's
up.
witness? Was it Amber's witness?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember seeing the clip of him like.
If Johnny's cracking up, then it can't be his witness. Because I would not have been cracking up if that was my witness. If I made y'all my witness for something and y'all do some shit like that, I would be furious.
Probably.
I don't want to discount my testimony, but I'll tell nothing but the truth.
I think the guy's he's a fucking cleaner or something for like their house, and they were trying to get his his perspective.
That's funny.
Fuck that. Hey, fuck these guys too.
All right, let's get off of Johnny Depp, Amber Heard. Our last time, hopefully, talking about them. But I am happy Johnny won. I'm not gonna lie.
Is it weird that through his persecution of
grave.
defamation, she got defamed?
Hmm.
Like him trying to
is that defaming though?
That he was defamed. He actually ended up defaming her.
But is that defamation or is that justice?
I don't. I mean, she can't sue. How is she gonna prove that?
Then also,
she was intentionally defamed in a.
Also,
because she did it herself. All the clips came from her own testimony. Like the bee stung by the bee in the face.
The content enough is enough.
When you try to take somebody down that's important, and they belong to different groups, if you fail, the type of blackball she's about to get is going to be different, in my opinion. You tried to take out Johnny Depp. Like you tried to take out Leonardo DiCaprio and fail. You try and take out any of these critically acclaimed, really long-standing pillars in acting.
Well, everyone likes Johnny
Depp. Fail, but be wrong. I think that one's different. I think this one's real different. I think Amber Heard, we're gonna hear about Amber Heard in 10 years.
In what way? Because I was actually thinking of that saying where it's just like if you kill a king, you can do it in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I mean, I'm not saying like women should be like persecuted or anything like that. I'm just saying Johnny went up against like the modern resistance. You know what I mean? Like
technically speaking, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and he won, and so everybody's just like, oh shit, like, and all the proof was publicly made
for years.
And for like years. A lot of it for her was pretty damning. So that's the thing that I was just like, oh shit, like
nobody will work with her.
Rock the boat.
Like she can't have a male lead.
I think it's gonna be a while before something like that does happen.
She can't have a well-known male lead in a movie.
I want to say, and this is not true because unfortunately men exist, but I would say it'd be hard for her to find a relationship after this too.
No, she good.
But people out there are weird.
No, she good.
People out there are weird.
She always gonna. Let me tell you something. Women will always find somebody.
Yeah, I agree to that.
That thing. Dun,
One more point, which is wild to me. She has a kid.
With him?
No, she got it. What was it, through a surrogate?
She got it. Oh God, ain't they arguing about some sperm or something?
I don't know.
They was arguing about some frozen,
This whole
some frozen
situation is
eggs or some shit
weird.
like that. Some shit like that.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
I don't know why the fuck I said that shit like that.
All right, there's too many weird things about this case and this Amber Heard and Johnny. They're toxic. Yeah, we're about halfway, so might as well do it. All right. Shout out to Angel
Fucking
Blinds.
30 minutes talking about those stupid ass cops.
Well, actually, let's address Ethan's comments first. Let's go to Angel Blinds. There is the problem. People like this do more damage to those that have legitimate issues. I agree, because now everyone, any kind of sexual assault now or physical assault, everyone's gonna think of Amber Heard. I think now for a short time, but for the long run, hopefully it gets less and less. But at least for right now, people when they think of the sexual and physical whatever. Man, one thing that bothered me though.
Johnny won't work with Disney again. That's true.
Facts. One thing that I want to real quick, which kind of bothers me, is I didn't like about the argument when I was listening to the trial was, even if there was a little bit of abuse, obviously that you can argue Johnny Depp emotionally abused her, then he's outright guilty. He deserves all kinds of defamation or not all defamation, but everything that she said in her little op-ed. But the problem is the op-ed specifically alluded to physical and sexual. So even if he wasn't verbally or whatever, does that justify the physical and sexual label?
Gene's testimony starts with, ain't nothing but a little bit of abuse. Ain't nothing but a little abuse.
I think, man, it's going to be a hard case to go with that because you have to start, tracing back the tit for tat, like all the way from the very beginning, and you don't know who escalated first and who, because once the ball was rolling, Johnny's responses, I feel were totally justified. And that being said, if Johnny's responses were the first things, the first punches to fly, then her responses are totally justified. And so you have to walk it all the way
now we
back.
got some nuanced conversation here. So now you're saying that words can lead to violence. That if I say something to you, no matter, because he didn't touch her, he could say the worst thing ever. And if I say the worst thing ever, she can hit him?
No.
Well, I mean...
But that's what he's saying right now.
No,
you also have to
just
think
the
Because that's what happened. That was literally how the events played out. He would say some things to her that were obviously set her off. We heard the clips. And then she reacted to hitting him. I didn't punch you. You were hit. And whatever the bullshit she would say. She'd end up hitting him. So certain words can justify you hitting someone?
No. But
sometimes.
But
Yeah,
sometimes.
If you're talking about in the court of law, is what I was assuming you were asking. Because just everyday regular, yeah.
No, just let's have it. Well, so
yeah, of course, it's not even debatable.
So then,
there's something that somebody could say to you to get them to get you to hit them.
So then, if that's true, and I'm willing to accept
But it's
that.
a level of manipulation, and you have to be accountable for the part that you're playing.
But then, wouldn't it be unfair suddenly to then go to the law now?
No.
'Cause it's
I don't get to go
speaking-
to the law after I punch you for saying some shit. I don't get to.
But
do
that's
that.
what happened.
That's
in
the
this situation.
trade-off. I now
exactly.
broke the law.
That's the trade-off. But the trade-off was disrespected or tarnished when you went to the law. He said something
Correct.
bad. You got to hit him. And he didn't report you. He didn't do anything.
Correct.
He took it like arguably a man or whatever. I guess you want to say.
I agree.
And then you decided to go to the law and suddenly
She wanted
switch
all
around?
of it. She wanted the hit and the law. Got greedy.
I didn't know that's what she did.
Yeah. She slapped my boy up. No, I mean he got hit.
Wait, what do you mean, Doc?
Well, I didn't know that she. I guess I hadn't pieced it together because I had just seen the memes and stuff like that.
But you can't say the law. Public opinion.
Let Doc finish his thought.
Well, she was being physically abused, and at the same time, not physically abused, but physically abusive, and at the same time building a case to subvert him. You know what I mean? So I mean that to me is just totally foul. So if that makes any sense,
that's pretty much what was going on.
In both angles. She wanted all of it.
But that's why.
Go for it.
When I was even saying it every time we touched on this relationship, I was just dude, their personalities seem to be so contrary that it seemed kind of annoying. He likes fighting with words and she likes physically doing stuff. You can even hear it in one of the recordings. I remember listening to it where she's like making him stand his ground, and he just fucking walks away or something like that. And then she calls him out for it, and he's just like, every time we fight, it's like rounds. I need to go into the restroom and take a break. And she's like, no, come fucking like contest me. And I was just like, yeah, like he's totally doing some fucking Jack Sparrow shit where he's trying to fade out and just kind of be witty. And she's fucking straight up just challenging him. And that's why I felt like their personalities from the get go
Damn it.
didn't mesh, and so there was just like a lot of chemistry issues where they were just gonna fight constantly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it kind of depends on the situation of like the person that you're with, because like if the other person feels like you're avoiding them, then and their personality is to keep being more direct, keep fighting to finally get a reaction, then it's gonna fucking boil over, man. Like, you're just not made to be around each other. So I think, like, from the get-go, like you were asking, is it okay to say things and then, go into a physical conflict and stuff like that? I don't. I think there's definitely like a certain level of stuff like that. Like, if somebody loves their mother and you insult their mother and stuff like that, like, you should have known that was going to trigger them or had the potential to trigger them physically. So,
Yeah,
like,
be
I
realistic
think
with where things
that,
can
like,
go.
yeah, I think it's situational as far as the vibing.
I guess not devolved. It kind of transitioned to this kind of topic, but I kind of want to explore a little bit, which was, I think it's weird to keep it tied into the whole Amber Johnny Depp thing, which is people who want or acknowledge that, yes, you can say what you want, but understand if you say certain things, I'm gonna have a reaction to it. Like the example Doc used, if you say something about my mom, I'm gonna hit you, I'm gonna fight you, whatever, blah blah blah. So if we have that, what would you call that? That kind of societal norm or understanding or something like that, or not even societal, but just this interpersonal understanding amongst people. Unwritten rules, yeah. Like would you? And if that's the case, should something like unwritten rules in society be accounted for when it comes to the law? Because that's the problem with the law.
No, because unwritten rules.
It's a slippery slope. I know what I'm saying, but
yeah, but they're unwritten because of there's a trust aspect, and then there's a I want you to do something. Like, for example, if I want you to fight me, and I know calling you the B word, calling you a bitch is gonna be what it is, but I know, and in my heart of hearts, I really want to fight you. I'm like, what's up, bitch? Like, what's up? Like, I'm trying to manipulate you, so it's not
obviously
like
provoke.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm going against that societal norm of the unwritten rule on purpose.
But the reason why I asked that is because I was told, I'm not sure if this is true, that if you actually want to fight somebody and there's a cop around, if you get the cop to like facilitate the fight, like be a bystander, you can actually fight it out. And like, I'm pretty sure you can't go up to the guy and be like, I want to blah blah blah, because like, no, you guys told me you were going to do this. You wanted me to be, I guess, the administrator of this. It didn't escalate. You just mad you lost. Are you telling me
police can referee fights between two individuals?
I know that's possible in Texas. I don't know about other states, but yeah, it is the fight like is actually.
This happened before. Like, there's guys walking down the street talking shit, and the guy was like, "You want to fucking go?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." I was like, he looked at the cop and said, "We want to fight. Are we good?" He looked at him, and the cop was like, "Yeah, I'm here." And they started going at it.
Yeah, I'm here for this. Finally.
Like, they started fucking going at it until the guy who was doing all the provoking blah 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 lost, and he got up and like yelled at him, and the got his shirt back and went about their day. Like, that's a thing. I guess I'm too much of a Texan, then yeah, like, so that's why I'm saying, like, can stuff like that not, specifically in this regard, I know it can be a slippery slope in other regards, but when it comes to having a beef that you just can't settle with words, that it just gets to a point where it's like, all right, we got to get down to fisticuffs. You have that agreement, we're going to fisticuffs, and suddenly you either lost the fight or you just don't like whatever happened, and now you just want to get the law in the situation. It's like, no, because the law is always going to benefit you because I beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, to me, it's too much of a gray area for people to play with.
That's kind of a weird way we segue into this from the domestic between Johnny and Amber, trying to justify Amber hitting Johnny.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's called the mutual combat law. In effect, Texas law allows two people to fight and injure each other. If you are being prosecuted for an assaultive offense, you might be able to claim that you were engaged in mutual combat. This defense could help you win your case or convince the prosecutor to drop the charges against you.
You just gotta be able to prove mutual combat then. Mutual.
That was that mushu,
I know, right?
like the pork.
I feel like that's gonna be a fucking thing to go to. You
I'm
see somebody
so
on the
upset
street
we
that you're
spent
after and be
35
like, "Yo,
minutes on this shit.
mutual combat? You ready?
That's
Right
funny.
now.
You about it?"
Drop the square.
Draw the fucking square.
That's what it comes down to, bro.
Draw
Like
the
that's all it comes down
fucking
to sometimes. Just draw the
square.
square. Like,
Right fucking now.
That's all
Draw the fucking
The
square.
cops come and be like, "Hey, cop, this is mutual combat."
we're drawing the square. Mutual combat. Drawing the square. Mutual combat. All right, we finished reading
Then
these
getting
comments.
cuffs put on them yelling mutual combat.
There's a problem. There won't be another pirate. Johnny said he will never work for Disney again. Yep, preach. One
Yes,
of the
he shouldn't.
one of the bodyguards. He was vaping and driving his car during his testimony. And driving his car. Wow. Going physical should never be an option when a fight is verbal and both are participating. Hitting someone because of words shows your weakness and your willingness to give them power over you.
Correct.
Yeah. Mutual combat is only in a few states. It has to be agreed by both parties. That's why that one clip was so funny. I saw it's like we're about to fight. Good.
But the only
There were so
point,
many checks that it just happened so
the only
quick.
point I'll disagree with is yes, it gives. Obviously, I don't believe in you letting somebody trigger you with words just to fight, just to hit them. But people who do that normally are doing it in the scope of the law defending them, as far as they're not the aggressor because they didn't physically start the confrontation. They're trying to make you the aggressor who started the physical. But what if there's no law? You said some shit, and I beat you the fuck up for it. And that's just how it ends. Who had power over who?
Well, that's why I feel like we should probably start using the mutual combat thing a little bit more. And this is maybe my Texan side coming out a little bit too much, which is like if someone starts. Because I agree with you. Like, if someone's, like, we talked about this before in the past. Like, for me, like, there's nothing you can say to me that's going to get me triggered like that. There's not. But if you start feeling yourself getting the blood boiling, you start seeing a little bit of red, that tint starts coming in. The first check, like, bro, I'm about to ask you to mutual combat, and you better, drop the square. You better shut the fuck up.
Fuck that, nigga. I'm touching ground.
Like, I'm not going to
immediately.
hit you, but
I'm
letting
drawing
you know
that shit.
you're getting me there.
Nigga, I'm finna draw an L. If you don't draw the other side of this fucking L and make this fucking square, nigga, that's it. That should have to be the agreement. I draw an L, you draw an L. We make the square. Just like that. Boom!
I'm gonna walk around.
Let me ask you, okay, which one do you think is more civil? Asking for mutual combat or just like, honking at each other to the point where you just enter combat?
I think no.
It's definitely more simple to ask.
Fuck your question. The best answer for what you're asking right now is the most entertaining version would be people having to make enough eye contact to understand that mutual combat is about to happen.
Oh.
That would be so entertaining. Like just honking each other's horns and you just like,
Da-da. There's a certain code, like everyone knows.
nigga, we done honked it too much now. We gotta look at
I heard the code. Mutual combat's about to happen.
No, yeah, I think that would be hilarious to see two people walk into each other and bump each other on accident and then look at each other and then be like, oh, this is mutual combat. Like, just based off the look, that shit would be fire. Make life a lot more exciting.
You're low-key, right? Keep people on the P's and Q's. Now they gotta watch what they say, how they act. Everyone's be a little bit, you would hope, a little bit more respectful.
If you ain't mean what you did, look straight to the ground right after. You can't agree to mutual combat if you're not looking at me.
Fucking terrorists be like, what's happening? Like, it's just mutual combat.
That's true.
Yo, the ones who are about it, they walk
Yeah, you
different. The
step
ones
on
who
my
stare at the
case,
ground
just
when they
keep your
walk,
head
you
down.
already know you ain't about that square. All right.
You seen, that reminds me of the video of Austin Rivers throwing that ball and it hit LeBron in the head. And then LeBron turned around and Austin Rivers went like, Austin Rivers went, dude, LeBron's looking for mutual combat.
He was. He was like, no, you got that was a coward.
That boy closed his eyes and raised his hand. But no, let's move forward.
Draw the square. I had power over you.
40 minutes on Amber Heard, and I'm still trying to.
No, I'm separate. We got you. I'm separate with the Amber Heard thing and this little like side conversation we had here because that was funny and that we talked about it for a minute. So don't worry, we got a little two out of that, I think. But we did talk about this for a minute. Let's move on. Let's finally give the shout out to Angel Blinds. All right, this podcast.
It's funny. It's funny that we're talking about Angel Blinds right before this next topic that I think we're going into.
Yeah. What? No, but we can. So we'll do that
We
instead.
have to now.
Okay,
because
yeah.
the other one would be dark as fuck.
Yeah, it really would be.
That'd be crazy.
But do we want to end on something dark? We'll see how long this one lasts. Yeah, okay.
But I really want to talk about this.
I got you. Okay. So this podcast is sponsored by Angel Blinds, a local Atlanta, Georgia area small business. Their blinds help you get a new look for your living room, to your bedroom, to your dining room. They even have custom kids blinds with their favorite superhero or princess.
You can
With
even
our
get
promo
the freedom
code
of speech put on there.
FDT, our audience gets 10% off their first purchase, or you can get the infamous turd on the bed. You can find them on Facebook page Angels Blinds or Instagram Angels at Angels_Blinds. And you can also probably get a square. Exactly.
Get a square.
Let people know.
I'm drawing
This is square territory.
I'm drawing a square tonight.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm about to get like a huge like special chalk and to get like a holster for it. And if someone's talking shit, I'm pulling out the chalk, bro. I'm drawing my L. You about this or not?
And drawing the square is like mad alpha because the square's not gonna be that big.
Oh, now it's alpha. Now we talk about alpha.
Yeah, I'm trying to use that word. It's not gonna be that big. It's just me and you in the square. Ain't enough room to do nothing. You have to figure it out. There's a video.
This video is Phoenix Jones in Mutual Combat. He was a real life superhero in Seattle and an MMA fighter. Phoenix Jones. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Oh, I know.
Oh
Phoenix
yeah,
Jones.
I forgot.
I remember
Washington
that.
has crazy mutual combat laws because they have they have old school laws from when like the frontier was still around. You can just fucking I forgot, but like I don't know. It's pretty open. Like, you can even fight people in the streets. I think. I don't remember how crazy they are, but I know they're.
I mean, that's what I assume the mutual fights are gonna happen, like mutual combat. Like it's probably happening in the streets more often than not. Yeah, very alpha. All right, I'm getting that chalk. All right,
I apologize for using the word alpha, guys.
It's funny.
It's okay.
The
Forgive me.
conversation's funny. All right, so let's get to Eisman Etute acquitted of murder.
Jesus Christ.
All right, so let me read this to get the quick rundown, and let's dive into this craziness. For real, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like straight up, I'm with you on this. Like do all this and then this. Okay, so scroll down for me, Ian. Boom. A jury in Christiansburg on Friday found Eisman E.C. Etute, a former Virginia Tech football player, not guilty of second-degree murder. Etute fatally beat Jerry Paul Smith in May of 2021. The 19-year-old's lawyer said he acted in self-defense. Evidence showed that Etute connected with 40-year-old Jerry Paul Smith on the dating app Tinder
Jesus
during
Christ.
April of
The
2021.
man even had 3 names. Oh.
And was at first under the impression that he was meeting a woman named Angie Renee or Rennie. I'm assuming there's supposed to be an asterisk, so Renee.
Anytime a girl's name sounds like a nickname or like a name they would put on their Instagram, you gotta be wary, my boy. Oh my God, the real person's name was Jerry. Oh, that's like the most nigga name ever, huh?
Jerry Paul Smith.
Oh, Paul Smith.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh man!
Let's get.
Oh no!
Following their initial sexual encounter at Smith's Blacksburg apartment, Etute met up with Smith on a second occasion, he said, to find out if they were a woman or a man. So a little context to this real quick. So specifically what he went to the house the first time to do was to receive... what's the word to use? I'm trying to be family friendly here. Thank you, Ian. Fellatio. He went there to receive fellatio. And one of the...
Filet?
And one of the parameters that was set for this event of fellatio was that the lights had to be off. It had to be completely dark. So the lights were turned off. It was completely dark. He received his fellatio and left.
He needed it that bad that the lights needed to be dark wasn't a problem for you?
This is why this go back to our conversation we had, our after dark conversation. That's why I like the aesthetic more than the feeling. I want to be able to see. Man, if he got to see, maybe he might not have let it happen. I don't know.
Son, you make it in my crib or I make it in your crib. Only one of us walking out. On God. Only one of us walking out.
He went to get
God. On God. Nah. I'll go to jail. I robbed him. I make this shit look like a robbery and go straight to jail.
And then he left the house after that feeling kind of confused, and that's when he went there for the second occasion to find if they were a man or woman. He questioned the gender. After discovering Smith's sex, Etute told detectives that he punched them multiple times. A medical examiner testified that most of Smith's face bones facial bones had been broken and their brain was bleeding. A bloodstain pattern analysis added that Smith's face had also been stomped on by a foot twice.
Jesus.
During the 3-day trial, the former tech student testified that he did not know the blows had been fatal until he was arrested 2 days later. Eugene testified that when he discovered the person he met on a dating app was anatomically male, he felt, quote, violated and was, quote, shocked and in disbelief that somebody had tricked me and lied to me. The defense called the attack a heat of passion provocation, but also argued that Eugene was acting in self-defense because their client said Smith reached for something during the pair's second encounter.
Oh, my God. Hey, I ain't gonna lie. Son, this shit would have fucked me up. I would have been so heat of passion. In court, I would have been arguing my own. There was no passion. There was no passion.
I want problems. Always.
I was like, yo, there's no passion. Why? Why y'all gotta use that word? Oh man, I know he is hurt. And then he had to defend himself publicly. Oh. Son, my whole body is itching. My whole body is itching. I don't know.
I guess heat of passion is just the legal way
Oh.
to say he went berserk.
Jesus.
He's all red.
His mind is, he is toasted. He's gone, dude. Not only did he get his duck sucked by a duck sick, there you go. His duck sick by a dude. He goddamn murdered somebody. That was a bad week for him.
We're not saying duck sick. Just say fellatio, bro. or just say what it is. We're not saying duck sick. What the hell's wrong with you?
Trying to sick that duck.
We can't laugh at this man's pain. We can't laugh at this man's pain. This is just man's trauma.
Somebody else felt a lot more pain. It's not funny, but I'm saying, like, the guy was actually a victim too. But I would like to ask y'all this question. This may sound ill-mannered right after laughing this hard,
right?
But what percentage of transsexual murders do you believe involve any type of
similar situations to this? So deceptions and all that stuff.
Decepticons.
Where you find out this person who they say they were, and in as the words they use, heat of passion provocation moment, you beat them potentially to death. Or
I would say, like, I don't know, like I can't give you. Like,
don't give me a real number, but you know.
Yeah, I just think that
just keep it simple, minority and majority.
Possibly 2 ways of death for being a transsexual. Well, 3. One is suicide because of, like, you know, they're having troubles mentally, trying to decide what they are. 2 is for people like this who decide to push their boundaries and deceive others. And then 3 would be of, like, an outside party that's just completely, like, out for persecution, because they're prejudiced or
like
whatever.
a hate crime kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that'd be it. I mean, this one though, I think is the one that's fully in the actual trans person's control though, because they have to actively make the decision to, you know, deceive somebody else. Like, regardless of how much you believe you're of a different gender or not, you have to acknowledge, I think, the original gender that you were born with and make the decision to pull a ruse on somebody, you know, who's were born naturally like the opposite gender, because you do have to fool them. Like, I think anybody who's delusional enough to not acknowledge that and just be like, nope, I was always born this way, this is how it goes, like that's denying a huge truth. And you're gonna run into problems like this.
Cartman. I'm start calling niggas Cartman, because Cartman will say a lie so deep that nigga believe it.
Yeah, how deep you go into that rabbit hole of just self-delusion.
My thing is, I don't know the prominence of it. I really don't. I don't want to say it's not prominent. I don't want to say it's just super prominent. My whole issue specifically is, and I'm not trying to deflect from your question.
No, you're fine.
It's just,
I probably asked it the worst way anyway.
It's just, why a straight guy?
Oh, I know why. I told you. You asked the question earlier. That's why.
Like what?
I refrained. I think it's just
And this comes from my ignorance, because if you're trans, so this is a male who trans as a female. So my question is, so you're attracted to.
Well, I have an assumption.
So you're attracted to men. Is it? I know they don't like this when you call them like. So you're gay, but you're not gay because you're technically, as you believe, identify as a woman. So you're
a straight woman.
You see yourself as a straight woman, but you're a man. So it goes to Doc's point about you don't see how other people would be confused and not willing to.
I think.
But why do they go after straight men specifically? Why just stay within? I guess you're not. I don't mean anything negative mean by this, but within people who at least understand.
I think, and this is just an assumption, and I just came to the conclusion when you asked me earlier, but I think it's because if they trick you, they actually get perceived as a woman, and so
it's an exhilaration kind of thing. Like
I don't know, maybe it's in the validation. Thank you, Ian. Shout out, Ian. That's the word I was looking for. More of a validation thing, because if you trick a straight man, if a guy is straight and he only likes women, and you trick one,
makes you feel more like
a woman. That's the only thing I could think of. Other than that, you're a demon. You're wicked.
I do actually find that mentality weird, because I have met gay people who see bagging straight people as trophies.
Oh man, we've had the same question. We're getting into this.
It's like I don't understand them, like, because I don't treat bagging, you know what I mean? Like if I were to bag like a gay person, I wouldn't treat them like a trophy. Like, I'll still go for it, you know what I mean? Or I'll still get it. Like, no, I don't have that kind of swagger to me about that issue.
Let me go pull that dyke right quick. Who you see doing that?
I guess technically speaking, well, I was about to say the counter argument to that is not necessarily straight. It's straight guys trying to convert lesbian women. Technically, would that be the synonymous to gay people trying to get straight guys?
Yeah, really.
And at the end of the day, it's an ego thing. Because for straight guys, it's like, I'm so manly, macho, whatever, how they see themselves. I was able to get the girl who likes strictly tacos to suddenly enjoy it, to try some sausage. You liking how I'm wiggling around?
But I can't say sick my duck.
No ducks, bro. That's it. No ducks.
Tacos.
Tacos, sausages.
Actually, duck tacos are pretty good.
You said duck sick, not sick duck.
Yeah, I know, but you know.
It was
one's an action and one's a observation, I guess. A sick duck. I hope it feels better.
I'll have to take all those out and clip that. Dude, let's fucking.
Oh man. Okay.
I already forgot the last thing I said. It was something along the why trick straight guys. Oh, the comparison between straight guys for lesbian girls, and so conversely, it would be. I would assume it'd be the same for gay guys. Like it's like makes you. Makes you feel more gay, I guess, or it just confirms you're like, I'm so attractive, or that I was able to get a straight guy to give me time. Like,
I
don't know. It's like
it's wild.
I'm sorry.
It's wild.
I'm sorry.
And we trying.
I'm trying. I'm sorry.
And we trying.
I'm sorry.
We thinking, but we trying.
Or are they fucking vampires that like they get a straight guy to like increases their perpetuity of gayness? Like,
I just need a little bit more gay.
All right, I think we can change topic after that one.
Yeah.
Put my foot in my mouth.
It would make the last one a breeze.
We'll see, but we should try not draw it out too much because it's a little controversial. Let's get to these comments first. He went to get head. Come on, man. Tinder is a predominantly gay hookup app. You can't tell me he didn't know. Is it really? Is Tinder really known as a predominantly? Like, I thought that was the whole point of
the gender selection at the beginning.
No. I'm talking about the different app, the popular gay app, whatever it's
called. What's it called? Flamer.
Grindr. Boom.
Oh, please edit that out. I thought that was gonna be the. Yo. I thought that was the name. Son, I thought that was... No, you can't put that out. That's gonna be like an actual hate crime thing type thing.
Okay.
I think that's the N word for them.
What?
Maybe. I don't know. I just knew.
I forgot what you said now.
Good.
No, that's not. That's not where it is.
Oh yeah, never mind. Yeah. The bundle of sticks.
That's
the bad one.
Oh yeah, that one you can. Yeah. That's
okay. Well, yeah, I don't think Tinder's known for the gay app. I think it's just known for like the
It is a flame
selling
icon.
app, like where girls go to sell their OnlyFans in themselves. Like if they don't go through Only, what do you say, Ian?
I said, yeah, I agree with yeah.
Yeah.
OnlyFans girls on there now.
I think everybody dates on Tinder. Like all freaking, forms of sexuality.
I don't think it's dating. I think it's looking for like if you're trying to look for something quick or specifically intimate, you go to Tinder.
Really?
I think because
You said something quick?
no one's looking for something long lasting on Tinder, and I'm making this assumption personally off my experience and also off the abundance of female ads when it comes to themselves. Like check out my OnlyFans, check out my Insta, like selling themselves.
I have heard that Tinder's now more become like an advertising app for OnlyFans.
Yes,
for female
exactly.
OnlyFans.
Exactly.
That's lame. Sorry for you.
I don't use Tinder. Tinder, it's a no go. That app is. Yeah, for real. Ian, I've been on Tinder for 3 years. All right.
I'm on it right now.
Kind of a weird segue, but let's get into this because it's.
Hold on.
What's up?
Okay, go.
Getting yourself mentally ready?
Yeah, no, we just had to take some space. Let all the laughs get out the room.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. This is something that you don't really laugh. But it's this. I think more frustrating. Probably good we did this last maybe because.
Oh, on this note, can I ask y'all to watch something a little later? There was a fight recently, Gervonta Davis and Rolly Romero, and this guy named Tank won, and so the guy was asking him about future fights, and it's often referred to as like your guns.
Yeah.
People always say these are their guns, right? And so he was like, "Oh man, there's no safety on this Glock." He was like, "There's no safety on this Glock, and I got a lot of ammunition." The guy gonna segue and say, "Now let's not talk about guns because, the tragedy that happened, and this nigga just won the world championship fight."
And he's trying to virtue signal?
The guy stopped his whole thing to virtue signal to him. Stop him because the winner said, I ain't got no safety on these Glocks. He said, "Oh, don't talk about." The announcer said, "Don't talk about guns because of the tragedy that happened in Houston." I was like, man, look, all this virtue signaling, dude. Anyway, we're about to talk about it, so.
Yeah, nice little.
That's actually before we actually go into the heaviness of it. That's the second thing I heard too, because I heard that the initial scene for Obi-Wan has like an extension of that part where Anakin walks into the Jedi Temple. You know what I mean? And he goes after the kids. Yeah, there's like an extension to that in the new Obi-Wan show, and everyone was just like, "Whoa, trigger warning! Why didn't you warn me about this?" and stuff like that. And I saw some videos on like they didn't know that was gonna happen. They had this premiere set out for months, and this happened like 2 weeks ago. They didn't know that was gonna happen, and I guess they just assumed people would be able to suspend the difference. Like I saw somebody make a video on it, and they even said themselves, they're like, "I understand if you were there and present in that situation directly, but if you weren't there, like it is tragic, and you do have the ability to feel sad and stuff about it. It's just you also have to be able to suspend that from reality, from a show or something like that. You can always turn it off and just watch it later or something. So I don't think it directly affects you as if you were there and present."
You talking about all the people that got traumatized by Will Smith's slap?
Yeah, that too, like stuff like that. Like the internet's so fragile, and the psychosis that's coming from it's a little too.
That's interesting. I think I can probably tie this into that point you just made. I'm gonna see if I can hold on to that in my mind while I get us into this. So, we're going to unfortunately dive into the shootings that happened this past week. And the first shooting, we got two for y'all. The first shooting is the one that happened in Uvalde, Texas. I think I'm saying that right. And
well,
I guess let's read the CNN instead of me doing a little summary. I think they got a little summary to begin with. So, with more funerals and visitations scheduled Wednesday for victims of the deadliest U.S. school shooting in nearly 10 years, more changes in authorities' narratives of how the May 24 massacre unfolded in the South Texas city of Uvalde are emerging. The Texas Department of Public Safety, or DPS, now says the door the shooter used. Well, this kind of gives us time. Let's actually, I guess, kind of get into it. So there's this guy. I don't remember his name. I don't care to know his name. 18. Had some issues, and one day. Huh?
Something Salvador.
Fuck that guy. Don't say his name.
His last name was Ramos. Ramos for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Correct.
I'm with Ian on that one. He 18 lost his pretty much snapped. He shot his grandmother, took the car, went to a school, and in the process of driving to that school, the grandmother crawled. You said how far she crawled?
Across the street.
Across the
I don't know if
street.
she crawled. I just know she made it across the street.
Well, either way,
and
she
called
made it
the
across the
police.
street from being shot by her grandson to call the police to warn them about him. And he gets to a school, and as CNN's going to get to, there has been a lot of holes in the story and reporting when it comes to the events that played out. So the kid is now going to this school. He somehow gets inside the school. The officers are able to, as they say, secure him in a room. And unfortunately, the room that he was secured in had, 19 kids?
Wait, so him getting into the classroom was them kind of like pincering him into the classroom, or kind
We
of
don't
like
know
tactically?
we don't know how it specifically played out. We just know that, and it's going to get to it in here, is he got in somehow. Either he was let in, or a door was left unlocked and he propped open, or
that's been debated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But either way,
Yeah.
somehow he got in. How he got into the room, I don't know if they pressured him in there,
Yeah,
or if
also-
that was the first room he entered and they just happened to like lock it behind him. Like
Lock it, bro. Oh my
I think he went into it. There's no way they would have pressured him into a room with children and like two people
god. Yeah.
or like two adults. I think he was already in there, and the room was locked from the inside, so the cops couldn't go in. Well, they could have, but like
Yeah, let's
they
be
that
honest.
was the barricade.
But they said they exchanged fire.
Yeah,
Like there was
he
a-
was shooting at them, and so this is the timeline I've got. He crashes his car after shooting his grandmother.
Is it confirmed he
Who's-
crashed his
who
car? Because they've
survives,
been
by the
debating
way.
that too, that he crashed his car. Because they said he crashed his car and got out and started shooting. When they say he didn't crash his car, he just
Well, the truck I've seen on TV, like the wheels are like flat, like a hover car almost. Like he went into like a
ditch.
water ditch.
Oh, okay.
So he shoots his grandmother, who's survived, by the way, which is crazy. She survived. a
She's
blow to the
actually
head.
alive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
she survived
wow.
the
That's what I'm
headshot.
saying. I was like, yeah, she survived. That's what I said. I don't know if she crawled.
I thought you meant like she survived long enough to
Yeah,
No,
I don't know
she's
how he
alive
shot her
today.
or what, but like she got shot in the head and she survived. So
You know,
I don't know what happened, but it's crazy.
it's God's grace.
He drove off after that. The entire time he was like texting some girl in Germany, and it's good they put up the receipts of like all the messages and stuff like that. And then he cranes the car. Two people at like a morgue come out. He opens fire on the people coming out of the morgue, and they duck for cover. And then he runs to the school, and he's popping like a couple shots off towards the school. At this time, the officer for the school is not on campus, but he's racing back. And so he stops a man who's actually a teacher that he thinks is the shooter. The kid gets in through some door. Either it was propped open with a rock by a teacher, and I've actually seen teachers do that, so I kind of believed that. Or the new news is that it malfunctioned, and somehow it was opened for him. Then that the rock story was never possible. So anyways, he goes in, he basically goes forward, takes a right, and then goes into like a classroom. And the classroom is one of those classrooms that shares another classroom with it. So
Adjoining or
there-
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like a joint room. So there's two teachers and a bunch of kids, and he just starts, doing what he did. The police officers go in, and they kind of line the hallway. And that's when they're like exchanging fire with him, and they're just kind of sitting in the hallway. After a certain while, the police chief of that department, so keep in mind, school districts in Texas usually have their own police departments, and it's so that they don't have to trade rotations with like beat cops. So there's 6 cops, I think, in their police department precinct, and like one chief or something. So the chief, after they see the locked door, which is literally he just locked the door, he designates it as a barricade hostage situation. And so all of the guys that show up with like bigger guns and stuff like that, they end up creating a perimeter around the school. And because it's a hostage situation, they don't let anybody in. But here's the fucked up part, and this is where like all the scandals coming out now. Um, that school has counter training for active shooters, and it's basically you run in, you don't stop until the shooter's down. Even if it's like the next person in, you all go single file in, you run and gun, even if the first person in front of you drops until the gunman is down. So because he designated the situation a hostage situation, they didn't follow their training,
That's
and
wild. I didn't know
nobody
that.
nobody went in. What they ended up doing was, because of the hostage situation terminology, they created a perimeter for the guy for an hour to do whatever he wanted to in that classroom. And that's why the body count is so high. And so now, like, there's a bunch of footage of parents screaming at the cops to go in, because there's
Yes.
cops with ARs, and like there's
Yep.
cops with, like, like heavy like ballistic shields and stuff like that.
Saw
Like,
the
they're
same video.
geared
Yep.
to go in. But it wasn't until an hour after a federal, I think, department or something made a call that
Border Patrol,
overrode
pretty
that.
much.
Yeah, they overrode the police chief, and they went in and they actually, shot the gunman down. And so because of that, like, there was a total fuck up on protocol for them, and their training basically all went out the window. And like the huge thing is, like, they had just trained on how to deal with a shooter, I think, like a week ago, and they didn't even do it when they actually were supposed to. So now the chief of police for that school police precinct, like, he hasn't come out in days, and the people in the city are probably fucking pissed, and they're, he's
Dude, have you seen some
humiliated
of the
and stuff like
interviews of
that.
these cops when some newsman asked them questions? Like, it's crazy how they're trying to get ahead of, how they tried to get ahead of this and frame the narrative. How, like, that's why earlier when I said the word I chose, because that's the word he would use. We secured the target in the classroom. Like, we got him secured. We did that. We were trying to be tactical about this, blah blah blah. And then also saying how another video, it's a different interview, I think, where he also said. The reason why they didn't go in because they didn't want to put officers or something along those lines. Officers' lives in danger, and it's like, well, what about the children?
That's the bullshit. That they were supposed to do that.
Exactly.
That's what countermeasures for a school shooter says you have to do. And so that's where a lot of people are calling them cowards, because when it came down to it, they didn't actually do what they were supposed to.
And then there's also been reporting that some of those officers that were there were able to get their kids out of the school.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. I just heard about also, like, the parents who were just like saying fuck it, and they were trying to charge the perimeter to go
One
in and
woman
get
got
their
arrested.
kids.
I think another dude got
Yeah,
tased or something like that, which is
yeah, and the cops
wild.
actually kept them out.
Which
And
is
it's actually kind of
wild.
fucked up, because I actually saw a diagram of it, and so it's like the hallway, the room, and then like all the cops were lined in here. And that's the thing that trips me out, though, because you gave him an hour to just do what he wanted. They had to have heard him pop off shots
Right, you just heard the
and
shots
kids
going
screaming
off.
and stuff like
Oh
that. And
my
you can just sit in the
gosh.
hallway and he listen to that shit and be like, "Oh, well, this is what's happening." Like, I don't understand that part, unless he did all the malice he was going to do initially when he walked into the room, and then and then he never fired again except to deal with the police. But I'm thinking, like, the entire time he was in there, like, he was doing things, and you had to have heard the hostages and like people crying and stuff like that. But not only that, there were kids in the actual rooms that were calling 911 with their cell phones, and they were like timelines where they were telling them, "We're still alive in here, like, we need help, and we need people to come in and get us."
That's
And
wild, bro.
that information never got relayed, supposedly, to the chief, because
He wasn't
that's
there.
the well, I don't know if he was actually there or not. I think he was on site, but that information should have told the chief that it's no longer like a barricade hostage situation. They need to break in. They need to go in. And when they did break in, they literally just kicked they just opened the door with the janitor keys, and then they went in and they shot him, because that was the only barricade.
Was the police chief the same guy who said, knowing what we know now, we should have went in?
No,
I
I
was
think
about
that
to
was
say,
the DPS director.
Okay, because he
The
was the one
police
who was
chief
saying
is
all
literally
that.
like the town, school, district police guy.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, and he was like in charge of like U.S. Marshals and Border Patrol. Honestly, I don't think he was anywhere near capable of handling like the caliber of people that were there. If he was, he would have probably sent them in earlier.
All right, before we start diving into this topic, let's talk. Get the other one in here, and then let's get the conversation going, which is the Buffalo shooting. All right, so there was a shooting in Buffalo. Buffalo shooting suspect charged with murder as a hate crime, domestic terrorism. Do you want to give us a little rundown, or do you want me to just read the article?
You probably seen the video. Dude had a chest cam. That's what you want to call it.
First person view.
First person view. He pulls up to the grocery store, shoots one of the workers right outside. Walks in and just immediately starts shooting people. Everybody's on the ground, begging. He shoots one guy, reloads his gun right by the guy he shot, and shoots him in the head. Goes through it, Call of Duty style, kills about 10 people.
13 people.
13 people. Killed 11 of them. Oh, okay.
11 of them were black. Killed 13, 11 of them
okay.
black.
It looked like there was a white lady outside that was working there, but she looked kind of mixed, so he could have fucked up. But to that point, there was a white guy behind the counter that he almost shot, and he pointed the gun at him. The guy said, "Please don't do this." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry." Turned his gun off of him and then kept it pushing. So to that point, he was probably overzealous and killed a couple people he didn't mean to. But he went to a black neighborhood, and all of them were like, the youngest person he killed was like 35. But she was the youngest by, I think, 15 to 20 years. Everybody else was 50s and up. So a bunch of elderly people got killed. He has a lot of, I think they said he had a lot of hate propaganda and stuff on his stuff.
Here in a rambling 180-page document shown online, Gendron declared himself a white supremacist, called his planned rampage terrorism, and expressed desire for it to incite more violence. So he had a little bit of a record or some background, I guess. He's getting tried on a hate
He live
crime.
streamed it.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was
the fact that he live streamed it. That's the crazy part. I mean, you said it. He had cameras basically.
Yeah, dude,
I
that
think
video.
he got a couple minutes off before they finally took it down.
Yeah. So, to get into the conversation, because these past weeks there have been some shootings, I guess the first question to get into this is, people want to stop this. People want to do their best to, I guess, prevent, if not prevent, what can we do to decrease the propensity, the frequency of these shooting incidents, be it school or public mass shootings. And right now, there's been two big arguments that have been circling the internet. One is the old time phrase, get rid of guns. That's the extreme argument. I'm not saying that's hype, but to get the extreme point so we can balance the other side is just get rid of guns. We got to get rid of guns. And then the other side has been arguing for security, either armed teachers or get security guards or armed guards at schools or just, I guess, places in general, just security in general. So
I wouldn't say that's the balance of that argument. I would say if we're going to call one side says get rid of guns,
okay, then
the other side would be we have to protect our right to have guns. That would be more of the argument of, I guess not a solution for the school.
But that's what I'm trying to keep it to the solution, though, because the point of banning guns is the solution is no one will have guns to do some kind of shooting. But you can't say that.
So then I guess the opposite would be give the people more guns. Give the security more guns.
Well, technically speaking, I guess you could simplify it to that. Give more guns. Like what
I
you
think we're
want
trying to
is
simplify is what I'm saying.
Give more guns. Put more guns. Put more guns in schools, but have those guns be on our side.
Our people.
Exactly, our people. I would say that.
Okay.
I agree to that. So I guess to put out into question is, they get a conversation going. What do you think is if you agree with either extreme ban on guns or the extreme put more guns in hands, but the right hands, or do you think there's somewhere along the middle, somewhere towards ban and somewhere towards more guns? Like, what do you think is a solution to this, in your opinions?
I think the conversation we have about it is normally about the extremes, and I don't even need to regurgitate all that shit.
That's why I try to enter it that way, because you're right.
But like, besides that point, the media actually perpetuates the argument as a battle between two extremes. But if you ask most people are pro stricter or more tedious background checks and more making it doing more research before giving people guns. Most people are okay with that. Most people are okay with, you know, you needing certain certifications or certain da-da-da to have guns. The argument is getting rid of the guns completely, which is impossible, or becoming more proficient and more secure or whatever by adding guns or being better armed to defend an attack. And so I think it's both. I think you, on one end, do what you need to do. I think on one end you do what you need to do as far as background checks. As far as like this guy, social media checks should probably be done as far as I don't know how you go about doing that, but something with their social media as far as owning a, you know what I'm saying, if anything that's flagged or whatever. Or if you want a gun, you might require a psychological screening of some sort, a light, whatever it is. But there should be some movement on that side, as well as there should be some movement on keeping ourselves more secure, which I think would be the prime directive. Like, I think, in my opinion, we operate off trust. When you're at war, you attack the weak points of your enemy, whatever it be land, whether it be whatever the direction is. The fact that we have so many school shootings is proof that that's one of our weak points as far as defending what's important to us.
It's a gun-free zone, and it's
exactly.
Also,
and so now
precious jewels there.
The trust factor of that not happening has been gone, to be honest with you, at this point. And the younger the generations get, well, they always get younger, but the younger people are having guns. This is going to keep happening because they're easily swayed. You believe at 16, 17, something happens to you. Yeah, the world is over. So I think, like, fuck a resource officer at that point. Instead of putting all the people that are almost out of retirement or about to retire being cops into schools, put four heavily armed dudes at the school walking around. I don't care. Put 2 people at the gate or whatever it is with the metal detector at the 2 entries. Saying that there should be 1 entrance for a school is literally a hazard. Anybody who says single entry is not, that's not how schools are even supposed to be built at all. So I just think you just have to arm the school, not the teachers. I'm not saying give every teacher a gun. I'm saying if you can recognize authority when you see a cop and not be threatened by the officer having a gun.
Or if to speak on authority, an argument they've been having, which is two birds with one stone, is like you're saying, get cops or whatever you want in there, or veterans.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But just
now
if you're okay with seeing a cop with a gun and it doesn't traumatize you, which some people can argue it does. If you're okay with seeing a cop with a gun, you should be okay with seeing somebody who's there to secure the school.
A veteran that you would assume has training with said firearm or firearms in general.
We see when they did military visits with us for high school, military visits, or we go to like these little things.
Yeah.
You'd see them with their ARs. You see the military guys with their ARs. They may not have guns in it. They may not have bullets in it or whatever. But it wasn't a traumatizing sight for me to see a military guy. Mm-hmm. So I just think we have to actually invest in the security at this point because we cannot trust each other. You just can't.
Doc, where do you lean on this?
I mean, it's impossible to get rid of all the guns. Like, there are more guns than there are people in the country. So that's kind of like the
is it like issue. Double or triple, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something ridiculous. But the other issue is like the issue is so complex that it's difficult to approach. So like one of the things I heard is that universal background checks. Well, the kid who shot up this school had no prior crimes that would warrant not being able to buy an AR.
He passed the background check.
Yeah, he passed them. So he still did it.
But to that note, though, he did have a picture, I don't know if which social media, I think it was Facebook, of him holding a bag of dead cats. So it now wonders, like, how thorough is a background check? Does background checks not go through your social media to a degree?
No,
that's the other thing, though. You have to get the company to give that to the FBI, and
well, it was public.
Privacy bullshit and stuff like that.
It was the post was public. The privacy narrative, he only had it private to certain individuals. So if he didn't elect you to be like on that private list, you could see it.
Oh, so what you're saying is if you post something on social media, the platform itself should notify a system or database that you've been flagged, and maybe whatever that thing that was flagged would go into a. This is just me
That's
spitballing. Would
the
go
Big
in.
Brother thing that like people would
Yeah,
fight like tooth and nail against.
100%. But then
Um,
the thing is, you can't fight tooth and like. There's give and take. If we're talking about there
yeah.
being some balance, you can't say okay, protect our guns, and then somebody give you a means of protecting your guns, and you say no, because if the end result is you keeping your guns, but Big Brother saw if you posted your gun or not, I'm talking about or posted something that would be, and the flag itself doesn't mean you're automatically flagged. The flag means okay, if I have a thing right, it goes into a little thing, and when they're doing my background check, that's when they check the flag to see what it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, he's been automatically flagged, he's been automatically flagged. Situationally, it could be applied to a lot of things. But there, you can't argue now all of a sudden. I'm not saying you doc that, oh no, big brother, but you're keeping your guns. Like, there has to be, like, you got to give something, like, something got to shake. You can't just, I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Well, the other thing too is like that guy bought body armor. Like he was fully equipped. Like he was completely geared, and he had something like 1,000 rounds and like several mags for. I don't know if he had both ARs on him, but he definitely had one of them. So you can buy military grade weaponry, or maybe not like top of the line, but you can buy like some surplus stuff at 18 until they do this stuff. Um, the issue would have to be like, are you going to manage all of that? The whole AR thing, like I've also heard something, and this to me actually sounds a little reasonable, if I'm being honest, where it's just like you raise the limit of buying an AR from 18 to 21 because people, grow a lot, and from 18 to 21, you can actually kind of see like if somebody's really going down a certain path. Like even these past two shooters, the one thing they shared in common was that they were both under 21. So you could do it. The loophole for that though is remember that kid like several months ago whose parents bought him a gun and he shot up the school?
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a thing, but that might deter some people if you just have to buy it when you're at 21 and maybe you've grown a little bit more since then. Maybe life doesn't suck so much for you to want to do something so terrible. So that's the only thing I've heard that I was like, I can understand that. Because I also don't think like you should get rid of assault rifles. Like, I mean, the the thing they're supposed to deter is the government from an uprising or like a complete just shakedown. Um, so and I think there's plenty of guns that like the government won't ever try to do that because then they fight militias. Um, it's hard to find the middle ground. So I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because definitely like people want to keep their guns, especially the responsible owners. There's also got to be a way to keep it out of the people who are crazy's hands. And the big issue that's coming out of the Texas issue is one of the strongest arguments that the right has is get guns in the people of good hands. You know what I mean, or good people.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw the cops; like they're good people, man.
I was
They
about to
didn't do
say
what
that
they
we
were
have
supposed to do.
this unfortunate situation happen. The cops were we hope are good people who would put themselves.
Yeah,
in
they didn't do it.
Yeah,
They didn't act.
And you know what's crazy? Both times that the police were called, right? The Buffalo one, the operator told the lady, "Why are you whispering?" and hung up on her in the store. And then this one, you had the grandma call the police. You had the people from the funeral home call the police. And they didn't pull up on the grandma who was shot in the head for over an hour. So
did not know that.
I think the good thing would be for maybe the gun lobbyists to loosen the reins a bit and say like, okay, we'll bump it up to 21, and then the left to be like, okay, we'll let more armed guards into schools and stuff like that to protect the kids. I think that's the best middle ground from
what's
what
more
we can currently
traumatic?
do.
Armed guards or like a school shooting? Like I don't.
Yeah, at this point, right? Like they happen so frequently, and having armed guards at a school is just gonna be like, all right. It'll be like Mexico, man. When you go to Mexico and you go to like public buildings and stuff like that, like there's armed guards with like ARs and stuff.
In New York, they are they got metal detectors, and they are there's police by them.
Oh yeah, I've seen that in movies when they walk into high schools and stuff like that.
in certain
They have to.
cities.
Honestly, I've only ever seen like New York schools in movies. I think what's the one where Samuel Jackson's a
Coach
basketball coach
Carter.
Carter? I think I saw it there.
And Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman.
I just the only point I want to make is, I mean, I agree with all y'all. I don't think the solution is the extreme, which is ban all guns. That's just, one, in America, impossible, and two, in my opinion, incredibly stupid, because then you're just gonna make it more possible for things like this to happen without any sort of pushback. Like
Response,
even though the police officers in that one situation should have responded, if you ban guns, then no one would have been able to respond except for them, and now we're slowly relying on them. Like, if those parents would have been able to get in, if they had a gun on them, they would have shot that shit up. Like,
Any
they should have and
tickets
should have
that
been able
any
to.
of those cops have ever given anybody should be thrown out, because you don't get to be a dickhead and then be a coward. Like, you don't. Like, the trade-off is, if you're gonna be a dick and write me tickets and all that shit
serve
for
and
that.
protect. You didn't serve, and you didn't
like,
protect. You
the
failed
trade-off
your
is,
oath.
what are you doing then? You're just out here giving people tickets then. Cause
Yeah. And then
That's what I
others,
was wondering too. Like, there's probably like an armed father who's just like, I'm gonna get my gun, I'm gonna run in there, and I'm
Right.
gonna do something. Like,
straight up. And then the other side, I don't think is a solution either, which is, I mean, I'm more on that side, but I know it's not what the other side wants, so I'm trying to find a way for the common ground, which is, just more guns. Because I do think more guns, but how do we facilitate it in a productive way? And like you've pretty much said, I don't remember if Doc agreed. I think he did. I could be wrong. Which was some kind of security, be it officers there or veterans. I think veterans are a good idea. You give jobs now to veterans, and also you got protection out at schools. Win-win, in my opinion. It's just, and I'm also, we talked about this before. Like, I'm okay, yeah, with more, I guess, in-depth background checks. Like, if people really want a gun, they go through the background check. I went through a background check. I mean, it's an annoying process, but like, you just go through the background check.
What about psyche Val? What do you think about that? That's just a question, not an opinion.
I honestly don't know much about psyche eval. I don't know what that entails, but I'm not really against it because I believe I'm a sane person and I don't do anything crazy. So I guess I'm not against it. Just depends on, I guess, who's doing it. I guess that's the argument from that side, is who's doing all this evaluation to determine who and who can't have guns, because that's the slippery slope there now.
You know what they should add? References. You know how on your resume you have to put your high school and all that stuff?
idea, actually.
There should actually be a references thing, and it shouldn't be like by your choice. Like, I'm just gonna list 3 references. Like, that should be part of the school counselor's job. Like, has anything ever come up? If nothing come up, nothing comes up. That's cool. If you never got in trouble, that's cool too. But like, there should be some start to that
young,
ledger,
so
and I
if you're
think it
this
should
young
be.
and you want this, let's
Boom.
make sure your peers,
Boom.
your elder peers.
We seen you worked at Quick Trip from 2004
He's
to
been taking
2010.
training. He's been doing this with so and so. We've seen this and that. Blah blah. Like, he's well competent and all that stuff. I don't really see anything wrong with that. Something
Yeah,
that
that
should
also might be the
explored.
workaround to licenses, because people are pretty against licenses. But with references, like, you have to have a community, like,
You've
That's the whole
impacted
point
your
to it.
community
Yeah,
some
totally.
way,
Yeah.
somehow. You interacted with people.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm willing to explore. I'm not against it. I don't see anything wrong with that. But the point I personally want to get to add on to this is, I agree with everything y'all said. But one thing I think that bothers me is the exploitation of not specifically our politicians, but people in general, of situations like this. I think we touched on it before we started the podcast. We were talking about what we were going to talk about today, and that was, it's understandable to obviously be impacted with this. Like, this is crazy. Like, it's as this story specifically with the Texas shooting, as more information kept coming out, it was enraging to hear how this literally probably could have been prevented, and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And I just found it so distasteful, the amount of politicians and people who aren't even politicians who came out and used this, they just pretty much inserted themselves, all the way from a politician to Beto when he interrupted that.
I hated that shit. I hate people who do stuff like that, because the fact is, yes, you can be enraged about something, but the moment you become aware of the audience, no matter what you're doing, you're acting. And so there's no part of that to me that wasn't acting when he went up there and he's mid-campaign running for something. And like, it's just all the...
It's obviously what he's doing. Like, to me, at least to me, I could be biased here. At least to me, it's very obvious he's positioning himself to sway voters. Like, and it's so obvious to me. And all the way from a politician to like an elected official, all the way to someone, I'm like to say normal, but just not a politician, which is Meghan Markle. She visited the what's it called? Did flowers and everything. It became, I don't know if it was intentionally or unintentionally, but nevertheless, the photos came out were pretty good photos of her at like laying down flowers for the kids. Mm-hmm. It's like, why do you need to be there? And like, I don't know. It's like, I understand you probably did it the kindness of your heart, but the problem is by you being there, it became about you now. Like you inserted yourself and it became about you instead of it being about the kids. Even out of your best interest to say, I'm here for the kids and here's me doing a nice gesture for the kids, for kids. Your actions are you inserted yourself that you had no involvement in to say, look at me showing my support.
You know what's crazy about what you're saying? I completely agree, but we're becoming cynical to the point where your point is actually becoming almost annoying to hear too. I'm not saying that.
I understand though.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people saying, a lot of people are making memes of the people who are virtue signaling. So it's like I say to say a lot of people are like, oh, don't just virtue signal, do something about it. But that's virtue signaling. Like that's the same thing. Like you're saying, oh, everybody's just gonna do this and then we're gonna go back to normal and pretend nothing happened. But so are you. So therefore, you are also virtue signaling by saying stop virtue signaling. So it's becoming redundant. It's almost becoming like, and that's not necessarily your point, but it's becoming to a point where shit is so inauthentic.
There you go.
Even pointing out its inauthenticity is inauthentic. We're becoming dumb. Like it's wild that we're gonna end up. We want to be the first one to say something or do something or be so
and get credit for it.
Yeah, we're all contrarians now, so it's like we just want to be the first to say this thing and do this thing and the first one to make that observation. And because I made the observation, I'm real because I made the observation about things that other people were doing. But then eventually we just become the observers of observers, and we're just like we're just gonna be.
See, I don't think to speak to that. I think you're right, but only where I'd place I disagree is I don't think they want to be observers. They actually want to be involved. And I specifically, growing up,
I'm saying people making that observation will eventually be the observers, but people will be making the observation of people making the observation.
I guess there's two different. There's people who are the observers and they tend to talk more than anything.
Correct.
But then you have people who are observers and then they take action, but it's not a thought out action. It's just a reaction action.
Then they wouldn't be an observer, in my book.
I understand what you're saying, but the only point I'm trying to get to. Go on, Doc. Well, let me finish my point.
Okay, go ahead.
My problem with that is, it just I guess goes with the disingenuousness. I'm struggling. The disingenuousness of it, because. Sorry, I lost that when I was trying to give it a Doc and I tried to pull it back.
There you go. You're good.
Which is, I don't know. It just goes to the emotional manipulation thing. I just don't like. Like you want to be. Oh, the action thing. I said I got it back now. Mm-hmm. We grew up. History, learning about protests. These great names: Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all these other people. I'll just name all the top names. Gandhi. You can name them all. And I would. This might be my bias, but this is my opinion. That I've noticed when people come out to protest, they want to be the first person to make a change, or at least I want to start the new movement, the new civil rights movement. I want to be part of the new. And unfortunately, the new for example, with Black Lives Matter, she utilized the Black Lives Matter narrative. The situation to advance her pockets instead of being a genuine actual movement.
Correct.
We said this before in a podcast is we have now financially incentivized protesting, financially incentivized political activism. It's now a lucrative.
What the exact word was? I think we monetized.
Activism, I think is the literal phrase. We monetize activism. I forgot what the conversation was about regarding, but we talked about this before, which is we now as a culture, as a country, have a monetized, it's part of capitalism, I guess, but I would say it's a bad side of capitalism personally. Anyway, different topic, but we have monetized it, and that brings about the wrong motivations, because now I would argue a lot of these people, not all of them, but a lot of them, and it's become obvious, for example, again, the Black Lives Matter one with whatever her name was, that people don't do these protesting and activisms with genuine intentions. They do it because they want to be known,
Internet
and
activists.
and they want to make money. I want to become wealthy because by being well known comes with a level of
They want to be associated to the cause. So if the cause is
Exactly.
big enough, then their name associated to it will be big. But this is where I stand on that.
hold on, let Doc
Go for it, Doc.
Oh,
Let's
I was
close
just
it out
gonna
soon.
say though, I think it also depends on the lens that you look at these things through. Because when all of like the shooter stuff was happening, I was looking at MSNBC and they were just fanning the flames for like the gun laws and stuff like that, and I was just like, damn, they're really like it diverts so much. Like you can tell they're using these situations as catalysts for whatever agenda they wanted to push. And so I had to like, I would read the headline and I'd be like, I'm not reading that. And I would look at like a different headline to see what was the most like neutral, like here's the presentation of information, here are the details and stuff like that. There were some things that I would be like, okay, let me see if this is sensational or not, but I would try to only listen to a little bit of it if it was like, new information.
Definitely not.
So I think looking at whatever presentations with that might deflate some of uh, the perception that you have of like these people kind of, monetizing the situations.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's like the news that's actually inflating what they're doing. Like if they just went and then
100%.
like the news put a spin on what they did, then that's something to take into consideration.
So
The reason why I was also thinking about this is because Biden actually flew to Texas, and like Biden's been against Abbott the entire time, and he hasn't been like, there's been so much like shit flung back and forth that he wouldn't even come to Texas. But for this situation, he actually flew in, and so we have that picture of him shaking Abbott's hand, and I was like thinking, I was like, damn, like even if they both walked up to each other and were like, hey, fuck you, they probably both looked at each other and were like, we're in a shit show now, and we got to deal with this. And so I don't think like him flying was any kind of like a personal like, inflation of his career or anything like that. I think he generally showed up just to deal with the situation.
I mean, it's his job.
I mean, it's his job, so that one.
Yeah,
but
he has to for sure. Yeah.
But to use Biden as example to making the situation worse is him saying how 9mm should probably be banned. Bro, what? The most popular
to the original point we were talking about the like you brought up the Black Lives Matter movement. I was thinking
Organization.
about it. Organization.
Yeah, I'm trying to
The organization. Most of the time with these organizations and stuff like that, like I said, they always start off grassroots. There's always a real reason. They're normally a reaction to something. Something happens or something has been happening where the idea of where they're coming from, it needs to be acknowledged most of the time. Like the women's movement, women didn't have equal pay or equal rights, or what they were fighting for a lot of stuff, equal space in sports, whatever it is, whatever your opinion of it is, they were fighting for that. And so the Black Lives Matter thing started after George Floyd. So there was something that needed to be responded to. So my question now is, yes, correct. So my question now is, to Doc's point of the media coming in and conflating things, at what point do we kind of attribute the destruction or those ideas not getting to where they need to go to the media? Because, for example, there's no movement or organization or thing that is perfect. There's no entity that is perfect. So why is it that, and this isn't just about Black Lives Matter, it's about anything, but I'm just kind of considering it now. Why is it that when something goes wrong, even if the genuine sentiment or the idea that's backing it is good, it could be protect the bees or something like that. But if we find out the guy that we're donating all the money to that's supposed to protect the bees is spending money on the Ferraris instead of the bees lose. The bees lose. Like, no, the sentiment itself is destroyed by the greed of the person attached to it. So I'm almost questioning, regardless of what happens with those people, why don't we as a society kind of integrate that change that needs to be done? Why do we accept that thing and let that idea be killed?
I'm trying to keep it short so we got to close out soon. We already went
Yeah,
way
I'm
longer
ready
than we
to.
usually do. Yeah. My answer to that is because we try to make everything federal. A lot of these problems, I think, not specifically local, but they can be better handled locally. And what I mean by that is some problems, like we'll keep the Black Lives Matter example. Obviously, Black Lives Matter affects the entire country because black people live in the entire country.
Right.
But there are certain areas where you can make a difference immediately and do that immediately instead of trying to do something I don't use the what's
From the outside in, inside out.
Yeah, instead of outside in, but outside in, yeah, you start right there. Like, what can I immediately do for like Jordan Peterson says, a perfect one. What can you do immediately for your family? And your immediate surrounding, what can you do to help black lives? Boom, I did that. Okay, now I can do that. I'm proficient in that and competent in that. Now what can I do for my immediate community, people, my neighbors? I did that and grow out from there. The problem is people want to go from me, family, to suddenly, boom, the entire country. It's like, there's steps to it. First, you got to understand where the problem is where you reside and solve that problem. And if you can solve that problem, this is how I solve this problem. Now let me see if I can use this method on a grander scale. It worked, but I had to change it because of X, Y, and Z. Now, because I did that with these adjustments, let me see if I can do it now in a grander. It's a growth thing. It's a step thing, but people don't want to do that growth in steps. They just want to jump right into it, which is... So I guess my point is go to my
They lose gas before they can make it out the atmosphere.
Sure.
So like
Sure.
I get what you're saying. Okay, I get it. I can agree with that. Actually, that's actually makes sense. But yeah, I just always wondered that because it's not like these things shouldn't exist or these ideas shouldn't exist.
Because that's the problem. Like with Black Lives Matter's if Black Lives Matter started in a certain local area, and that happened, the local community could have kept her accountable, while also still supporting the movement. But the problem is because it became such a national thing, she became the face. And now, even though people have no association with these people involved with Black Lives Matter, they just know as Black Lives Matter. I mean, with that disassociation, it enabled them to label her all of Black Lives Matter.
Correct.
Her
now,
sins
all
became
of
Black Lives Matter sins.
Exactly.
It's a level of disassociation that you lose when you don't build up that foundation, in my opinion.
No,
that's why I don't believe in, to allude to my beliefs now when it comes to no federal anything.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
All right, Doc, your last opinion?
No, I just think it draws also a healthy skepticism to be like, okay, what do I agree with most here? The sentiment or the herd? And then you can kind of draw your conclusions from that. That was actually something I applied to Black Lives Matter when it was happening. Because I remember listening to, what's that guy? I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Noir. And he's the
NRA guy. The gun guy.
Well, he's ex-NRA.
Ex-NRA, yeah.
Yeah, he had his like spiel.
Colin Noir?
That guy, yeah. I remember listening to him, and he was talking about disassociation between the organization itself and the sentiment, how you should put more value on the sentiment. And so when John kind of voiced it, I was just like, oh yeah, that was like a thought that guy raised. So I think moving forward, like with like modern media and everything, like all the stuff we're being thrown at each other, we need to have that level of skepticism.
Yeah, I agree.
Always.
I just think as Americans, we're used to the fast life, and therefore, because we're used to the fast life, we're used to fast results, immediate results, and we're just not used to patience. I think we need to adopt patience.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I know.
In America.
In America. Crazy way to end on.
Man.
Let's read Ethan's comments and let's close it out. So, the problem, I went on this conversation. I can't contribute via chat. We got to figure that out. The problem is that they want to take guns from people that are not committing crimes and can't keep guns out of the hands of the criminals. Banning guns does nothing but create more victims. I personally agree. He passed the background check because he lied on his form. Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I spent the better part of 18 years in combat zones fighting people because my country told me so. But then want me to be here at home and not have a gun to protect myself? Seriously?
Yes, no.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
I'm not going for that.
Never talk about the West Virginia lady who shot and killed an active shooter last week, saving countless lives.
There was a guy in that church.
No,
Remember
yeah.
with the 6th shooter?
Yeah,
And
so many instances of that. The problem is those don't get nationalized, I mean to a degree I understand, to a degree I don't. Like it's more easily nationalized the traumatic situations.
If it
like
bleeds,
19 kids, like man, that's crazy.
It leads.
But like the CNN scoop from Project Veritas, if it bleeds, it leads. I don't know. So. Yeah, we need to close it up, but I'll ask y'all later, I guess.
I'm coming home, baby.
All right. So, thank y'all for sticking through these conversations. They were kind of long. Chris, the last one, a little deep. We tried to I try to keep it a little bit, tame because I know it can be heavy. Because man, that was crazy.
This episode was long as fuck.
Yeah, it was
and
definitely
that was
long.
not the plan.
Yeah, we try to. Ian's over here going
Like
crazy.
asleep.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Appreciate you, Ethan. Make sure you guys, if you haven't already, follow our socials, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, Fake Deep Thinking. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and share our videos. Let's get more people in these conversations. Let's duke it out. We'll see y'all next. Draw the square.
Fucking square.
Draw the square.
Draw
see y'all
the
next time on
fucking
Fake Deep
square.
Thinking. Draw that square. Let's go. Those verbal squares.
You're
I'm about it. The world. Fake Deep Thinking. Leave me alone. We kind of.
ridiculous.
John.
What's up, guys? You're
Doc.
Yo, 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 what's up? Yo, yo.
Myself, Eugene.